My name is Margaret Ann Windsor, and I'm the daughter of Edward VIII, and my mom is Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor, Queen of England in 36, when they took my father down with lies and character assassination. He never married Wallace Simpson. She married a double. And they became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, illegal. And Elizabeth knew it, of course she did. Her father became king in 37, illegal they are, and war criminals, but they're sitting there, and she thinks she's going to abdicate so that Charles, who's illegal, and Harry and Meghan, well, anyway, that's the question as to who Harry really is. But let's say William and Kate, they're illegal, and little George that they're promoting. And she's going to abdicate. First, you have to be the real monarch to abdicate, I thought. Of course, you've changed all the rules. You lied about my father. You've known this all along. All of you have. George VI, who helped in my kidnapping. Here's the life this woman's lived. Carrying bouquets and around in pretty hats. I'm told that's to cover up. You have something to cover up. This is my dad. I'm going to go back to this. Edward VIII. Beautiful man. Honest. Admirable. And I'm proud to be his daughter. And my mom's daughter. He had nothing to do with Wallace Simpson. A fake and a double did. There were more than one. The Illuminati, the Jews, can I say that, Jews? Because they sure the hell have done a number on me and my children, Mark and Scott, who are heirs after me. My father's their grandfather. Okay. Now, let's go here. This is George VI, the one that made the movie out of and made him out to be a good guy, the sorry sot. There's no words to describe. He sold out our country. He sold out my father and helped in my kidnapping. This is the Roosevelts. You should read what I have put up here for years. But I got a hold of a book about Eleanor and her part. I made a letter right back to the United Nations, which I have been talking about, that came to be because my father would not follow orders of the Illuminati, and they took him out. It replaced him with George VI, so all the league treaties and everything are illegal. Since 19 what? Maybe before, but 36, 41 when they kidnapped me. This is another Jew, Roosevelt. Excuse me, but he's a Jew. And here is the, quote, fake Queen Mom. She's a Rothschild who controls your bank and helped in my kidnapping. And here's their mother sitting at Hyde Park, and they're planning my kidnapping in 39. Now, there's a reason this was given me. I think, I'm not sure which News Today or something is the name of it. An attorney that was supposed to be representing me in something a few years ago, because I can't get an attorney, she had this magazine laying there right by me. And I picked it up, and I'm not sure if she said to pick it up, but this was in it, the article. This is 1939, the year I was born. I was kidnapped in 41. JFK helped in my kidnapping. His father was appointed ambassador to England in 1936 by the Jew Roosevelt for the specific reason of taking out my father. Now, the problem being there is my father never meant to leave. It was lies and character assassination, had him riding a tricycle with a diaper on. All kinds of stuff that was a double used. And after a while, people began to believe it. And the press is controlled by your Illuminati, your global government, which is out of New York City, under the guise of the United Nations. They control everything. The whole thing about, and this came to be after the United States invaded Great Britain when they took my father down. And yes, some of my people were involved. Some of them were very beautiful. They didn't have any reason to have this horror put on them. And I certainly didn't. I was just born. And it's who I am. And my sons and the horror stories that happened to them here in the United States, for God's sake, right in Atlanta, Georgia. And before I get off track here, and this is not what I was going to go about. I was kidnapped. I'm Victoria II, Queen Victoria II, heir to the British crown. I am the queen. The minute I was born, I became queen. My father had made arrangements that were all legal. And I want to get this. I was writing about, before I found out about my kidnapping, and I was told I always remembered subconsciously, and I did, because when I found out in late 83, after I ran in a political campaign to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald out of Atlanta that I'd written about in a medical malpractice book, MD, A License to Kill, and about the Center for Disease Control and the Tesla files where you can create an illness or cure it. So when I heard, well, I guess I might as well get everybody in on this. They all know about it. They can't not know. Which is the Bush daughter that's a twin that's on NBC morning program. They would talk, they had Michelle Obama up there with her book that's being promoted. She doesn't need a press agent. The media are all promoting it and having her on as guest, and she's all flounced out in her gowns and somebody making her speeches and editing and helping her with everything in the book. And then there's Oprah, down in good old Georgia, where so much of this happened to me, and you speak of civil rights. How dare you? Anyway, before I get off track here, I wrote about mind control murders. And later, when I'm up here, and I'd run in the campaign, a church near here in Troutville sent this up to me. I was living on the Appalachian Trail. They sent this up to me. The book was called, I'm going to have to turn it around. Implantable Biochips was Project Lucid, L.U.C.I.D. And it's about the Bible. This is what I was writing about. I just didn't know. It was after the takedown of my father and the illegal treaties that the United States came in and under the guise of friends, and the Church of England helped do it to my dad. So you're right. There was part of my own people you can blame there. Winston Churchill, of course, was nothing but a traitor, cold-blooded, unbelievable. And he partnered with Eisenhower, the general from the United States, who became president. Truman became president. JFK. By the way, I said his father became ambassador to England. Roosevelt promoted him, sent him there. JFK would fly in there, specifically 1939 when I was born, till after I was kidnapped in 41. So they never thought my father would have an heir because he was 45 when I was born. My mom was 40. Surprise, surprise. So then they kidnapped me and got me out of the way and took my father's identity, stripped him and my mom, and they were still alive. Don't anybody tell me they weren't, because they were. I don't care what history has gone back and covered up. They were still alive and married to each other. And no, I don't like any of these lies that are still being told about my mom and dad and some of my family who were very good and kind and did their best in spite of this global government, which, Mrs. Obama, it's my understanding that your husband and you are part of the Illuminati. It was printed up, 300 of you, a list. I already knew that Elizabeth, well, she's fake, that she represents the Illuminati. She doesn't work for the British. She's not even in line to work for anybody, but go to jail. Now, I'm going to have some people knock on my door for waking them up. I want to finish this. It's talking about, they sent this up. I'd already written my book and ran in the campaign and up here in 1986. I started doing the book in 76, and Larry Flint was shot March the 6th of 78. And I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80. You know, this is such a, what is it, feather in their cap. You think that the United States would put it all over and tell how happy they were, just like JFK Jr. and George come up and taunted me up on the mountain. They did with their sleeping bags and backpack, although I doubt they'd use their sleeping bags. Put their food out when I was starving, and I had spent the winter up on Full Art Knob in a hiker's shelter. You try it, one of you, without gear, even with gear, and see how hard it is. And he come up and said, I said, you look like John Jr. or JFK Jr. He said, that's who I am. And it was his cousin that was with him. That's the son of Jackie, Mrs. Kennedy's sister. What's her name? Lee Bouvier Raswell. So they supposedly married into the royal family. Not really. I don't think Raswell was even a prince or anything, but they hobnobbed. And that was their end. But anyway, this son of hers was, and I think they call him Prince, he was with JFK Jr. I'm going to tell you something, and I've been through hell, and nobody's walked in my friggin' shoes, and my sons, my moms and dads. And this happened here in this country, ongoing. There have been some good people. 99% of them would have kicked my ass to hell in a heartbeat just to get me out of their way, because they're living good. They can have this image that they're the good guys, they save the world, when well, anyway, I'm going to run out of time, so I'm not going to go any further, because Mrs. Obama and Oprah, all these people knew it. If they don't, something's bad wrong. Illuminati that never covered anything, the truth about my dad and mom, me and my sons. Okay, you got it. Now then, here's this, and it's connected with the church sent it up and said, this is what you've been talking about. It's talking about end times. And it's talking about biochips, which I was talking about, being placed in people. And well, there's a lot of other here that I can't. It's talking about Revelations and the beast, mark of the beast and all that, and the chip would be put in everybody, and they'd have to take it to have food and do anything. So that's already in place. I've just told you that. This is Timothy McVeigh, who was in the military. And he said that the Army, U.S. Army, he was in the U.S. Army, planned to chip up his buttocks. And this is, you know who, I'm not going to mention him. Supposedly he's got a biochip in case it gets kidnapped. Well, it's me that got kidnapped, and he's a fraud. Now where am I going with this? Makes you wonder, Timothy McVeigh went on to, well, the people that programmed to blow up the Murray building in Oklahoma City. And I think Nichols, I can't remember his first name, is still in prison, that supposedly helped him in Oklahoma City. He was put to death. Now, if you stop and think, all this crap that they're talking about, this young man that's in Ventura, California, that turned around and shot himself, they're programmed to, just like the Virginia Tech shooter shot 32 and then turned around and shot himself. Well, he is no different than the people he shot. He's a victim of that total crime. Just like Mark from Ark. Robin Williams looks like he killed himself. He was programmed. No different than taking a knife out and gutting somebody. He just turned it on himself. Mind control was turned on himself. So I have to wonder, well, I don't wonder. I know that one was done in patterns. They're done in patterns deliberately because mind control is hard to prove. It's invisible. So the one up in Ventura, California, he was a Marine. Now then, they have been programming for a long time, and it's the public's fault that's allowed this to happen. They could have protested and helped me. They could have protested a long time about the use of a mind control instead of pretending it wasn't there, wasn't going to happen to them. Because it's reaching a close here, and a lot of people are saying it other than me, like cashless electronic debit, da-da-da-da-da. I put this up because it's not just my words. This man wrote a lot of books. He knows a lot. He's deceased now, though. He's got another cousin, I think, that's Mars. I believe they're alive, and he's written a lot of books on the same subject. Now, have to wonder about how you treat you. They just had Veterans Day here. I'm treated like crap. I'm going to show this man. He was treated like crap too, and makes you wonder about the people. I don't like pornography, but I can tell you what, the people that have done all this to me and my children are garbage dumps. This man would be a saint. Now I've lost my train of thought, so I'm going to go on other than it could be any of your veterans. They were here in Salem where I live, and they were having food and honored, and everybody just wants to kick me to hell and leave me. Okay, I didn't do anything wrong. Thank you. My children didn't. Thank you. This is what I've been doing. And there's some nice people on YouTube that have tried to help me lately. The only ones that did. And I do appreciate them, and I don't mean to lump them in with everybody else, okay? This is Larry Flint, who was shot by a program shooter in 1978 in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I was taking Lawrence County, Alabama, so you're getting into Crip and Larry's and Lawrence, and you got it. And then Larry McDonald, I wrote about, the doctor congressman. Now I want to get to this. He says here that I knew who was responsible for his shooting. You should see what I had in the book about mind control murders and about Center for Disease Control and Larry McDonald, who was supposed to have gone down in the KAL August the 31st of 83. And that made a special election, and Mr. Flint flew me out there. Now, I had never met him. I just knew his murders were done. The murders were done in patterns, and his shooting, and Governor George Wallace of Alabama, an honorable man who wouldn't sell his soul, was running for president. They shot him in Laurel, Maryland. So, I had another picture here. Yeah. I wanted to turn down this before it goes off. This is to Mrs. Obama and Oprah. Oprah was down in Georgia. This is where so much of this happened to me when I was doing the book and everything. Martin Luther King partnered with JFK on this mental thing where mind control is used to kill, and ultimately it's the global government. This empowered now the UN out of Washington and Rockefeller Center and Plaza and headquarters, right in your face. So they have to know this, Oprah and Michelle Obama. And she's going after Mrs. Trump, who is a very beautiful lady. The press is their agent. They don't have to have a publicity agent or anything. Anyway, her husband promoted this girl, Caroline Kennedy, JFK's daughter, as ambassador to Japan. Does Japan remember what was done to them? Do they even know the history behind what caused it? This was April issue of 84 of Hustler. Now, what else was I going to put up? I can't remember at the moment. I'm going to turn it here, and I don't have someone. I have a cheapy phone.